about the new patient experience. And when Ed and I were introduced to each other a couple years ago, we found something that's been incredibly powerful. And that is, he can teach you, and he has taught many of you, marketing techniques that work. Niche marketing and all of these other great concepts that Dentist Profits has brought to many of you and can bring to those who they haven't worked directly with yet. But what we found was, once a new patient's come into the door, what now? And there were clients that were spending thousands of dollars on marketing but just weren't getting results that they were satisfied with. And so we really took a good look. And I, of course, started doing this when I was doing a lot more in-office coaching. And I'd run the numbers, and I'd pull the audits and say, okay, we've got this, you had 45 new patients last month. But here we are 45 days later, and only 5% of them have returned for treatment. What's happening? Well, something's broken. They're getting in the door, but obviously the ball's being dropped somewhere. Okay, so again, we've really focused a lot of time and energy on how to make this better. Okay, why do we talk so much about this? Obviously, when we're trying to do marketing, our goal is what? Get patients in the door to make money. Okay, I couldn't have said it better myself, Dr. Lazaro. That's exactly why we talk about this. What happens if once we get the patients in the door, we fall short?
We don't make any money.
We don't make any money. Okay, we don't accomplish our goals. So that's why we have to talk so much about the new patient experience. Okay, have you ever had new patients that come in once and don't come back for treatment? Has that ever happened to you? Okay, of course, it happens to everybody. Because we might not be the perfect fit for everyone. And as long as we realize that and we're okay, but if 95% of your patients aren't coming back for treatment, is that okay? No, not at all. Okay, and so what we found is, there's enough of our members, enough of dentists in general, who could use a little bit of guidance in this area that, again, like I said, it's one of our most common requested topics. So how are we doing? I know some of our Gold Plus members, we've actually given you a form to rate yourselves on your new patient experience. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But what are the trends out there? I'm always amazed when I go to my mailbox and I open my Valpak mailer. I'm amazed at how many ads there are for dentists in my area, where I live in Utah, that are exactly the same. Really, they're all offering pretty much the same things. You have a laundry list of services on one side. You have a picture of the doctor smiling with probably a tacky logo on the other side. Okay, and there's really no differentiation between the two. So if I'm a prospective patient, how am I supposed to know who to call? Okay, so, what are the trends? What are you marketing right now? Once we get the patients in the door, do your teams even know what the offers are that you have out there? What's a new patient looking for when they come to your office? And we're going to talk about all of these things today to make sure that we can maximize the potential of our new patients that are coming into our office. And to do that, of course, again, we have to focus a little bit on the new patient experience. Did you know there's 65 points of contact? Okay, 65 points of contact with every new patient. And in just a minute, I'm actually going to ask Darcy to pass around our Rate Your New Patient Experience sheet, because I've got a copy of that, hopefully for everyone, if not every person, at least every practice. And we're not going to take the time to rate you today, because some of you have done that before. What we are going to do today is I'm going to teach you all the secrets you need to know to hit a home run in every single one of those 65 points of contact. Today we're actually going to talk about how to score better than maybe you have in the past. But with the 65 points of contact, that's really exciting, because what that means is we've got 65 ways to give patients the wow factor. 65 opportunities to wow our patients. But we also have, for you glass half empty people, 65 ways we can earn a failing grade. 65 different ways we can blow it. And how many times do you think we get, how many failing grades can we get before we've lost the patient? How many does it take? Sometimes only one, if it's an important issue. Okay, and that's why it's so interesting to me to talk about this. And that's why we are going to talk about this till when, Darcy? 9 o'clock tonight. You're stuck, people. But there's a lot we're going to talk about, and I think it's going to be great. Okay, so that's why we talk so much about this. So how can we improve our new patient experience? What can you do next week with your new patient experience? We're going to talk about how to improve it. We're going to talk about the whole exam flow. We're going to talk about how we can get it all done. We're going to talk about how we can use the best tools and integrate maybe the things that might be sitting collecting dust on our countertop right now. And then we're going to talk about how we get patients to accept the treatment that we see. We're going to talk about how to look for opportunities. And then we're going to talk about how to take those opportunities and get them to schedule their appointments. So we're going to talk about all the different aspects on how you can improve your new patient experience. So let's go through this. Again, like I said, I don't really want you to rate yourselves right now. This is an exercise for those of you who have not done this as a team. This is a great team meeting. Now let me just preface that with, this is not a time for anyone to be defensive, thin-skinned. This is a time for brutality, honesty, no names on the top if you value your job, okay? And you grade it up, you turn them in, and then you score it up and you figure out how you do, okay, on each of these things. But what I said is I don't necessarily want you to rate yourselves, but I'm going to talk about what you can do, and we'll talk about each individual concept, at least in the initial part here for the first little bit today. Okay, when does it start? Obviously, I've given you a hint. Initial phone call, right? That's when we really begin that relationship with that patient. Okay, and there's some things that we could talk about by that. I mean, obviously, we've got the initial phone call and the confirmation call, so we need to have somebody who sounds pleasant on the phone, right? We need to have somebody who's actually good with multitasking. If you can't handle multitasking, should you be answering the phone in a dental practice? No. We got to be able to do the, hold on a minute, and keep going, okay? And still feel like the patient on the phone's got 100% of our undivided attention. Okay, I had an office that I worked with, I won't tell you where. I called the lady that was on their phones the dragon. And she'd answer the phone the same way every time. And it was like, this is the dental office, I'm Pam. I mean, almost every single time. And I was like, good heavens, you know, is there anybody on the team who could sound a little bit more welcoming and warm than the dragon on the phone, okay? I know, it's horrible of me, isn't it? So, you know, these are some things that we can talk about. You can spend a lot of time on it. And again, some of these concepts, I'm really going to spend some time and break them down because I think they're really, really important. And there's some of them that we might kind of glaze over a little bit today as well. So the first visual impression of the office, we're going to spend some time on this. I have had the pleasure of being in many of your offices. I have had the pleasure of being in offices all over the country. And I will tell you this, there are no two offices that are exactly the same, right? There are some offices that have a very nice first visual impression. And then there are offices that don't. Rest assured that I have not put any offices in here that don't have a good visual impression for many of you members in the slideshow. This close, but I decided maybe I valued your friendship a little bit more than that. No, seriously, you know, there's so many examples that we're going to look at. Okay, how important is the first visual impression?
Very.
How many seconds do we have? How many seconds? 7. Your patients have already formed 11 subliminal impressions about how their experience is going to be in the first 7 seconds of contact. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean the first 7 seconds of you being in the room with them and having contact. It means in the first 7 seconds, they're already making judgments about their experience with you. Okay? First visual impression of the office. What do you see? Is it hard to see? Can you see that fairly well? You see how the paint's kind of chipping here? It's breaking down, isn't it? Okay? First visual impression of the office. How many high-end cosmetic patients are you going to attract if that's the front of your office? How many actually will, how many of you wonder if your new patients that aren't keeping their appointments pull up to the office and just keep on going? Okay? First visual impression is important.